Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Unlock Your American Dream, an initiative proudly presented by the IBA Alums based in the USA. My name is Shan Siddiqui, and I'll be your host for today's session. So we're gathered here for an incredibly enriching 40-minute session, followed by an extensive 50-minute Q&A. Our agenda is to arm you with practical insights for successfully navigating your US educational journey. We can adjust the timing as we go along, ensuring all your questions are answered. I'm excited to introduce our esteemed presenter, Prakash Hirani, and our knowledgeable panelists, Chandan Kumar, Abdul Karim, and Kamran Siddiqui. These experts are part of the IBA USA Alums network, and we are a community committed to sharing their expertise to help you learn and grow. So keep your questions ready for the Q&A chat box, which for the beginning of the Q&A session, and let's make the most of today's opportunity. Now, please give a warm welcome to Prakash Hirani. Prakash, over to you. Please.
Hi everyone, thank you Shan, thank you for organizing this, thank you Chandan, Abdul Karim and Kamran Bhai. I think I'll just share my screen and get started because I want more people to ask questions in the QA session. So let me share my screen. Here we go. So everybody can see my presentation?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. So you can look at this beautiful Google map, which shows how you can travel from Karachi all the way to New York, but you can go to any state of the United States. I'll start with country. Obviously, this session is particularly for USA, so US should be your top priority. But this year, I've had friends who only applied to USA, but their visas were rejected. So they are now a year back and waiting for next year to apply again. That is why I suggest to apply in other countries as well, so that in case your visa is rejected for USA, you have admits from Canada, UK, or Australia as well. So you can consider those countries. I have put Europe as the last option because people from my batch who have went there, they say that language is big of a problem there. So, but again, Europe, if there's nothing, then Europe is also a better choice to go for. Talking about deadlines in US, there you have two options. You can either come in spring or fall. For the spring, usually the deadline is July to November, but for the fall, the deadline is December to March. But it's always better to apply as early as you can so that you have enough time to apply for visa, sort out your finances and all that stuff. Between these two, I'll suggest to always choose fall over spring because as a F1 student, on a student visa, you can do your internship, summer internship, only after 2 semesters, right? So if you come in spring, let's say in January, and your first semester ends in May, then you have summer right after that, and you will not be able to do any internship in the summer. So your summer is whole waste. You can go either back to Pakistan or stay here, but you cannot legally work here. That's why I suggest to come in fall, i.e. in August or September. So you complete your fall semester, then you complete your spring semester, and after 2 semesters, you can do your internship. And I'm saying this because internship is very, very, very important as a new grad. What happens is most of the companies hire interns and then they convert their interns into full-time. So I think internship is very important, which is what I personally did. So I suggest everyone to consider fall 24 intake. And this is the ideal timeline. Let's say if you're applying for the next year, 2024 fall, then this is your timeline. Starting from June and July, which has passed, you should have already started your preparations for GRE and IELTS. And right now we are here in September, August and September. You should be searching about universities, finalizing your list, preparing SOPs, recommendation letters, and resume. And then you have in October or November, you can attempt your GRE and IELTS exams. And by December and January, I suggest to submit all your applications. And I'm saying this because this year I have had friends who applied very late, got admissions late, their visas were delayed, and there is one IB alumni who is coming for masters tomorrow, and classes have already started a week back. That is why I always suggest to submit your applications by January or December, but January at max, so that you get your admits in February or March, and then you start your visa process and loan applications if you want to take any, and then in June and July you prepare to fly to the US. And I know everybody, I mean, the economy in Pakistan is not that great, so I want to just give you an idea about initial expenses that you might need to bear. Before admission, you have around $200 for GRE fees, $200 for IELTS. This can be there is one alternative, which is Duolingo English test. I know most people might not be aware about that, so I'll just write here Duolingo English test. Most of the US universities do accept Duolingo, but if you are applying for Canada and other countries as well, then Canada, I think Canadian universities only accept IELTS. So I'll suggest to go for IELTS so that you have option to apply for Canada as well. And then for every university you have $50 to $60 of application fee, but most universities do provide a fees waiver. So let's say my university had this policy that if you attend any of their graduate virtual info sessions, then your application fees will be waived. Also, if you just start your application right now in September or November and do not submit, just start it, then universities will keep reminding you through email or maybe send you application fees waiver to encourage you to just complete the application on time. So I think this application fee mostly gets waived. And after admission, you have to submit your enrollment deposit to just confirm your seat that you are serious and coming to the university, which can be maximum $500, but usually it is $150 or $200, not more than that. And for the visa, you have to again pay $500. You might want to do some shopping from Pakistan for $1,000 because when I came, I was very money conscious and I thought I'll buy all my clothes for at least 1 year from Pakistan so that I don't have to buy anything in US. And then you want to spend $1,000 on air ticket. I know recently the tickets have got expensive, but around 1,000 or 1,200. And then you want to keep $15 or $2,000 for your room and security deposit for your rent. And then I suggest to keep $2,000 for your 2 months stay until your if you have a student loan or anything that arrives. Because what happens is if you are taking a student loan, your student loan usually arrives I think a month later after classes start. So I suggest to keep some around $2,000 in your hand. So roughly, I think you have to have around $7,000 expenses. And then comes this idea of STEM and non-STEM degrees. STEM means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I'm seeing a text that my screen is not showing. Is that...
are you sharing your screen?
Yes, I am.
And screen sharing is an issue with some specific attendee, or is it for all?
We have no problem seeing the screen.
Can anyone from attendees say that?
Yes, they can see it. I think one attendee has issue. So go ahead, Prakash. You are not in presentation mode though.
Okay. So I can go ahead, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Great. Okay, great. So STEM means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And US usually STEM degree holders have advantage over visa. So let's say if you're coming as a STEM degree holder, then you get 3 years of OPT. OPT, you can consider it a work visa. So you get 3 years of work visa after you graduate. And if you look at the non-STEM, you get only 1 year of OPT, 1 year of work visa. So why does that matter is because every year US has two H-1B draws. In the first draw, there are 65,000 visas, both for undergrad and grad students. And in the second draw, there are 20,000 visas for only grad students. So if you're coming as a master's student, then you have total of 85 visas in two draws, H-1B, right? So if you have 3 years of OPT, in 3 years, you have total of 6 H-1B draws. So if you're lucky, you get selected in H-1B, then you can stay here for 3 years H-1B, which can again be extended for 3 more years, so total of 6-year H-1B draw. But for non-STEM, you have only 2 H-1B draws. And if you are not lucky, you have no option but go back to Pakistan or any other country, but not USA. So I suggest to, even if your current degree is not a STEM degree, I'll show you how you can search for STEM degrees related to your major. But if you're coming US on loan or for staying here, working here for long term, always go for a STEM degree. And for the department, even though it's okay to change your degree, but should be somewhat relevant, because if you're going all out to a different field, then it will be very difficult to find a job here, because everybody here is very intelligent, have all the skills that you have. So I suggest to choose degree that is somewhat relevant to your bachelor's major. So for the computer science, engineering, IT background, I suggest to go for master's in computer science or data science or computer engineering or anything that is much related. And for all those from ACF, BBA or economics background, I suggest to go for business analytics, financial analytics, quantitative finance, any degree that is ending with analytics keyword or there is some sort of quantitative keyword, then most probably those degrees are STEM degrees. And you'll see on program pages that it will be written there that this degree is STEM degree or not. But if it is not, it is always better to email your university and ask them if your degree is STEM degree or not. But you always want to go for STEM degree. That is very much clear. Okay, so for the GPA, when I was in undergrad, some of my seniors or some people would say GPA does not matter, but it does matter if you are coming for masters, if you are if you want more scholarship, because admission preferences are given based on GPA, GRE, and your work experience. So I suggest if you are currently undergrad students, take your studies serious and do improve your GPA, because it does matter. And this is a little beautiful chart that I have made while selecting a university. So if you have 3.5 plus GPA and a 320 plus GRE score, then I suggest to target 10 to 50 ranking of the universities. And then 3.3 plus or 310 plus GRE, then you go for 50 to 100, and 3 plus and 300 plus GRE, you can go for 100 or 200 ranking. And below 3, I mean, when I was searching about the universities, I saw most of the universities have this minimum 3 GPA criteria, but there are still some universities which has 2.5 GPA criteria. So you can apply to those universities if you have some work experience, and if your GRE is good, and if you have good recommendation letters, and if you have any research paper, so then you can still apply even if you have below 3 GPA. Talking about scholarship, who doesn't want it, right? We all want it. So it varies by country to country. I'll just talk about US and Canada. For the US, we all know about the very famous program Fulbright, but it does come with a few conditions that you have to return back to Pakistan after you graduate. So, which is not we want, which is not, I hope not you want. So you want to stay here at least for a couple of years, earn some money, and then go back to Pakistan, invest there, or start your own business. So I suggest to go for option 2, which is get some percentage of merit-based scholarship, and for the rest of the funds, you can take student loans. I know it's very uncommon in Pakistan, but it is very normal. if you come here, you will see that almost 90% of the Indians come here on student loans. I'll share with you a few statistics. Just last year, 87,000 Indians came abroad for masters, and every other Indian I meet, they tell me that they are on a student loan. And even there is this trend in India that their banks provide student loans, which is not common in Pakistan. We don't see our banks providing a student loan for international students, but in India it is very common. That's why they are coming abroad in great numbers. But even if our banks do not provide, we have two international lenders options. One is Prodigy Finance, other is Empire Financing. And the best thing about them is they do not require any US cosigner at all. Because if you're taking loan from other US banks or any other lenders in US, they do require US cosigner. But I understand not everybody have friends or relatives, family living in US, so you don't have cosigner, they don't require, and there is no collateral either. So I think I'll share you with few steps how you can repay your loan and stuff, but it's totally normal to take a student loan and come here. So this is the calculated risk. If you are going for a, let's say, very expensive private university, I think if you go with a smart strategy, you can complete your degree in at most 70 or maybe 80 maximum $1,000, right? And if you go for a state or public universities, then you can complete a degree in $40,000. And then most of the universities, I think for masters, you have 10 credits or 12 credits maybe, and 10 or 12 courses, 30 or 36 credits. So if you're completing in 3 semesters, you are at very much advantage, and you almost save 20 or 30% of your expenses, total expenses. So let's say in the first semester, usually students do nothing because they are new, so they don't get any TA-ship or graduate assistant or any other on-campus job. But if you're lucky, you get it. That is again a good thing. But if you do not, that's okay. That's what happened with me. I did not have any on-campus job in the first semester, but then you take courses, you get along with your teachers and other staffs and library and other departments, then you do get on-campus job. That's what happened with me, and I got on-campus job in my second semester. And after 2 semesters, you can do a full-time internship in summer. And then in third semester, if you have a part-time course, you'll be able to do full-time job. And if you have a full-time course load, then you can do a part-time job. So if you apply this strategy, you usually through internships and job pay off your 30 to 40% loan while studying. And if you are coming for 4 semesters, same is the strategy, but you again pay the same amount of loan, but you you are in school for 1 more semester. So imagine instead of studying for 1 more semester, you should be working as a full-time employee. Then you can pay off loan a lot earlier. And these are the salaries that in my research I have found out on internet, that you're as a master student, you can, and from a STEM degree, you can easily get minimum of $80,000 annual salary. And on average, I've connected with alumni from my school, and I see that they are getting on average 100K annual salary as a STEM degree holders. And then maximum, again, if you have a lot of experience, let's say you have above 3 years of experience, then you might get 150K as well. And based on that, you can pay loan on these many months. Yes, these salaries are yearly salaries. So what happens after masters? So I have listed down 2 scenarios. Let's look at the worst case scenario. What can happen? Worst case scenario is as a STEM degree holder, you get 3 years of work visa, and you pay back your loan in 1 or 2 years. Mostly students pay in 12 or 15 months. And then for the rest of the 1.5 year, you can save. I have written here 100K because I feel like during 3 years you'll get some promotion, some raise or anything. So you can save 100K, and then you can go back to Pakistan, invest there, and build up your life. marry and enjoy good life. But you can do a lot more during those 3 years. During 3 years stay work visa in US, you can apply for PR in Canada or in UK or in Australia. If you don't get H1B, I'm assuming you are not here. You are the unluckiest person and have not got any luck in all 6 H1B draws. So then you can apply for PR in Canada, which is a scoring based system. So let's say you have bachelor's degree, master's degree, good IELTS score, 3 years of work visa or 3 years of work experience, then I'll think you'll have really, really good CRS score and you can apply for Canadian visa. And you can again consider UK and Australia. I don't have much knowledge about those two countries. Also, you can apply for MBA or PhD in USA as well if you don't want to go back to Pakistan. And these two options are the most likely because I have seen seniors who have done this. What they do is their company give them any other visa. Let's say your company can give you L1 visa, which is a intercompany transfer or any other visa, and they make you stay here until your H1B gets approved. Or if the company has any other office in other countries, they can shift you to other countries, other offices until your H1B visa gets approved. For example, there is one alumni that I connected to, IBA Alumni. She told me that she was unlucky and did not get any H1B luck. So her company, which was Amazon, they shifted her to Toronto office in Canada. She worked there for 1 year, and then very next year her H1B visa was approved. So next year she came back to US. So these options are most likely if you are working in a big tech company, then they do consider shifting you to some other countries until your visa arrives. So I think these you have so many options, and also Pakistan does not have any great backlog on green cards, so our wait time is also 3 to 5 years, unlike Indians who have a millions of green cards pending, so their wait time is entire lifetime. And in the best case scenario is you get lucky in H1B draw, which is a 3 years of work visa, which can be again extended for 3 years more, so for total of 6 years. And during those 6 years you can ask your employer to apply for your green card, and once you get green card, life is good. You are in US. And I'll give you some demo of how to search universities. So let's get back to Google Chrome. Okay, so first what you want to start with is you want to start with list of top universities in USA. Right?
Prakash, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Sean here. I'm just saying time check. We have another 15 minutes to go before we open up the Q&A. Okay.
Okay.
You're
Sure.
doing great on time.
Thank you for my. Okay, so you want to start with a list of top universities in US, right? So you will get list from many. So you can click on any university. Let's say you are clicking on this, right? Now these are the of course from top to bottom, number 1 university, second, third, fourth, and based on your profile, GPA, GRE scores, you can select your universities from here. And then what I want from you is I want you to sort out the universities based on the ROI. ROI means how much you are, how much salary you'll get after you graduate. So for that, you can go to US News Compare. Just write US News Compare, and it will take you compare college and universities over here. And here you can put university's name, and they show you a table of few statistics, right? And I'm comparing my university that I'm studying in, which is Stevens Institute of Technology, with these Ivy League university, let's say Harvard, MIT, and others, Stanford and others. And you see that my university is ranked 83 in national universities compared to other these Harvard and which are in top 5. But if you look at the average alumni salary, this university is almost comparable to these, right? You see Harvard has close to 70,000, but average salary, and this salary is for undergraduate. And how do we verify these statistics are correct? I went to the Stevens career page, and they have this 5 years of career reports. You can see 21 every class from 2016 to 21. They have career outcome report, and you can and I'm checking this career report of 2022, and you can see that 97% of their students are employed within 3 months of graduation. And if you look at their department wise salaries, they do have in the range of 70 to 90 or even 100K salaries. And if you look at the highest salary, software engineering has highest salary, computer science has. So we tech people are ruling over here. So what you can do is go to there, pull out a list of universities from Google, and then select the universities, compare here, and then select, I think, 5 or 8 universities and apply away. You'll get admission from 3 to 4, and then you can go ahead and check their career outcomes, their average alumni salaries. Just write university name and career outcomes. Most of the universities do have career outcomes report. Okay, and then I want to show you one more thing, which I'll be sharing with you all as well, which is this beautiful, I'll say, Excel sheet that I have made to keep you on track. Here are the list of documents that you need. You can fill out here with the status of it, and then you can select a list of 10 universities here, degree name, link, whether they have required GRE, IELTS, their deadline, application status. And here I have put out a timeline as well, so that you are on track. And here are the list of skills that you can excel on. And these are the initial expenses and student loans. Everything that I have mentioned in the presentation is written over here. So I'm sharing this link in your chat box as well. And I think with the recording, when we'll send out emails, I'll ask Kyan to send this link as well. So I think we are good with the session. Let's go ahead with, I'll get back to Sean to start with the Q&A.
Thank you. Okay. So thank you for the very insightful walkthrough, Prakash. So I'm sure all of you have many questions. So let's start the questions coming up in the chat box, and we'll open this up to the discussion panel. I think the plan here is for us to look at the questions, or I can read them out, and then the panelists can answer them as we go along. So let's start with the first few questions that we have received. Okay, so here it goes. So the first question is, most US schools are waiving GRE. If the profile and GPA is overall good, should one leave the GRE and just apply? And just one note to the panelists, guys, please keep your answers brief and on the point, okay? Thank you.
Okay, I understand that most of the universities have GRE as optional, but imagine 5 students in front of admission committee. 3 students have GRE and 2 students do not. If they had to choose, they'll go with one which has GRE. So I'll suggest to give GRE for more chances of admission as well as scholarship.
Okay, perfect. That also actually answers the other question, which is, what condition one should take the GRE. So I guess, that answers that. There are a couple of other.
Can I just quickly add to that?
Please, Abdul Karim, go ahead.
Sure. I think yes. A lot of now universities are moving into making GRE optional. But as Prakash mentioned, you want to consider like, hey, there are gonna be numerous applications for the school. How do you stand out? So and maximize your chances for not just admission. You're not only looking for admission, you also want to make sure that you get the scholarship. And the more credentials you can add to your profile, the better your chances in getting the admission in a top school and getting the scholarship.
Okay, fantastic. I think that's a really good point. So now a couple of other questions, right? So is a bank statement required? I believe this is for, applying for visas.
Okay, so bank statement is required, but if you are applying for the student loan, you will get loan approval letter. You can use that instead of bank letter. So once I have student loan approval letter, you do not require bank statement.
Okay, and I think
also, can I just add one point to that as well?
please.
So in terms of Prakash, amazing job in terms of the presentation. So you also want to check for the loans that you want to get. Once you apply to the university or you are finding or selecting the university, you do want to go to these two loan providers, which is Empower and Prodigy, to see if they give loans to students who are applying to those schools, because they don't give out loans to, I believe, to all the university students in the US. So you do want to make sure that if you are looking to opt for a student loan from these two companies, Empower and Prodigy, you want to make sure that you apply to those schools which they are catering to.
And also, Prakash, do you mind sharing the financing costs? Because a lot of people will be having this question. What is the financing cost for these loans?
Okay, so the interest rate when I applied was around 9 to 10%, but right now I think global economy is struggling. That's why interest rate fall between the range of 12 to 15%. And application is very straightforward. You just go there, very simple application. You can just apply away.
Okay, so thank you for that. So going on to other questions. So there are a couple of different questions about, one is about what about fashion and design, and then there's another question about master and MPH. I believe that's public health. So I guess let's answer this question based on other disciplines outside of STEM.
Okay. So I have seen soft degrees like social sciences, humanities, psychology. These degrees usually get scholarship. I mean, last year I saw two students coming from Pakistan, and they got graduate assistantship, and their tuition fees were waived entirely. So these soft degrees, I think, do get more scholarship compared to STEM degrees. But again, they have that disadvantage that they'll get only 1 year of OPT.
Okay. Anybody else also want to
Sure,
speak to
I
that?
can. I also want to highlight some of the.
Please.
I think before you apply, it's always good to think about like what's the end objective that you are thinking of. So as Prakash mentioned, like, hey, you want to look at the really the nuances of the school. Like, okay, after I complete my degree, what are the chances of getting the job in the US? Because if you are coming doing your master's, thinking of master's, I believe the end objective is getting a job here. So you want to be very specific and smart about choosing a discipline that you feel can get you a good job, increase your chances of getting a job, and then making sure that you are able to talk to school. And it's completely okay to ask these specific questions to the schools, because they would actually like it if you ask them like, hey, I'm applying for a fashion and design. Is this STEM qualified? And can you share some stats about any international students, what percentage of international students getting a job who are doing fashion and design masters? So they would actually appreciate, because that shows the intent and interest in the university and programs.
Okay, great. Thank you, Abdul Kareem, for that. Abdul Kareem, your video is off. Just I don't know if it's coming through. It's intentional or it wasn't. But moving on to the next question. So this is a slightly longer question. It covers a couple of different things about the interview, visa interview. So at the time of the F1 interview, we have to justify to the visa officer about the loan repayment plan. In that case, how can we mention the intentions of going for OPT and later on H1B? F1 is a non-immigrant visa, so shouldn't we need to justify the loan repayment considering the employment opportunities in the home country?
Yeah, most of the students have asked me that question, but I think it's we ask that because in Pakistan we think getting a loan is something very a different thing that we have never encountered ever. But in US, it's very normal to take. Most of the students here do take student loan. Most of the Indians come on student loan. So it's your 1 or 3 years of OPT is your legal right? So you can just say I might work there for 1 and 2 year, pay off my loan and then come back. No harm in saying that.
Yeah. So what I would like to ask about that a little more, Prakash. I mean, so if,
Yeah.
you have, like they said, F1 is a non-immigrant visa, right? So can you let in the interview, how would you address that? That, hey, I will. It is a non-immigrant visa, but you will look for a job because that's I
Yeah.
think part of the OPT and that process, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I learned from my interview is that you have to convey to your visa officer that you will return back to your home country without explicitly saying that you'll return back to your home country. For example, what I said, he told me what I'm going, why US or why you're going for this university. I said my goal is to teach machine learning and data science at IBA, so a US degree helps me a lot. That just
That
conveys
makes
that
sense.
my purpose, long-term goal is to teach or pursue a teaching career back in Pakistan.
Yep.
I think you can mold your answer in a way that portrays that you'll come back after your studies.
Yes, I think being upfront and honest about it
Yeah.
is also the key. So moving on to the next question, right? There's a quick question about what's an H-1B draw?
Yeah,
Okay. So
The lottery.
okay,
Yeah.
Chandan can go, sure.
yeah, I'm an old graduate, but I've gone through this process. So what happens that we have a number of applicants all over the world for the work visa. So H-1B is a work visa, and we have around 85,000 open slots each year, and we have 20,000 slots for the advanced degree, PhD or master's degree, and 65,000 slots for the bachelor's degree. So what happens, whoever you work for, your employer gets your basic information and they put into the USCIS database, and then they do a draw. So depending on, because the available slots are 85,000, but each year, this draw is open in March, and within few days, they get a number of applications, maybe 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 5 lakhs. So it is very difficult to give everyone the opportunity to work on H1B. Hence, a draw is made, and the decision is made within, a few days. That will not cost a lot to your employer, whether you are eligible or you are, lucky enough to be a part of and, proceed further for documentation. Once your employer gets the notification that you are lucky and you are drawn for that H1B cycle, they will do the documentation, and from October 1st, that is going to be effective, and from there your status will change from F1 to H1B. That will allow to work for 3 years, and after 3 years there's a possibility that they can renew while your green card is in process. If it is not, then another 3 years will be given to the extension on H1B. During that time, you still have option. Let's suppose after 2 H1B draws, for any reasons, your green card has some issues. One of the person has asked the question, we have still option. There are certain universities after 6 years of period or 3 years of OPT, they can give you the first day CPT to work again, so that you get another chance for H1B.
And if I may just add to this, if I understand, right now a lot of you are joining with the intent of how do we apply to the universities. So H1B is the next stage for it. For now, I think you all should focus more on thinking of like, okay, what are the universities that we should apply for, and what are the STEM degree qualification or department or universities that we should apply, because that's going to give you, as Prakash mentioned, that's going to give you more shots on H1B. H1B is a later stage. Once you get into universities, then the next stage comes, which is the H1B, which is the work visa.
I think the key is from my experience, has been not to get hung up on the future stages, right?
Yeah.
Focus on break that big thing down into a smaller chunks. So the first step is, GRE, research, do all those steps, get the admission. Now, once you're getting the admission, focus on these things instead of the last thing, right? Uh, uh, that's the key. Don't let the size of the goal confuse you. Do it step by step, and things will happen. So that's the key. And if anything, the U.S. education really helps. Not only just in the U.S., in Canada, in the rest of the world, it's recognized in a lot of different places as well. So we'll move on to a couple of more questions here. So is California expensive for international students? Should one prefer Texas over California? Anyone can take the question, please.
Yeah, I think,
Cannot.
yeah, California is expensive, but now Texas is not any more less costlier as well. A lot of people have moved from California to Texas, but in general, cost of living in California is expensive. I would say 30%. And the same thing goes if you end up getting a job, the salaries in California is 30% more comparing to the salaries in Texas.
Yep. Thank you for that. There's a question about, do I need to have experience for getting admission into masters?
Not necessarily. I have seen so many students who have come here right after the undergrad, but I think for them getting job here might be a bit difficult. But if you have skills, if you put your complete effort, you'll get a job.
Yeah.
I also want to highlight one thing. Prakash, correct me if I'm wrong, but GRE, or you could also give GMAT if some of you are thinking of going some masters in management sciences and all. So GMAT can also be another option. So you can also choose between GRE and GMAT. When I did an MEA and I took GMAT because my English is a bit weaker and maths is a bit stronger. So that's why I chose GMAT over GRE.
Awesome. So there are a couple of questions regarding, what's better, right? I've done my master's already at IBA. What's my best option to go to the USA? Should I do my master's again? And then there's also another question about, should I take a loan and do a master's or do a funded PhD? Kind of related questions.
Yeah, I think it relates with me. I did my master's from IBA in 2009, and then I got admission at Arizona State University in PhD program. That was business related, and when I landed, I saw the situation, then I changed it, and I did another master's in engineering. So it depends on your situation, what you really want to achieve. But if time is not an issue, you really want to do PhD, then it's a good path. Otherwise, doing another master's would definitely help you to graduate in 3 or 4 semester and be self-sufficient in supporting you and your family.
If I may just add to what Chandan just said, I think it's all about investment. It's a big investment, and one needs to see the return of investment. So PhD route is more meant for people who are very convinced and committed of an academic setting. But if you are looking for a better return of investment, probably a master would be the way forward.
And Kamran, if I may add to your point, a lot of times when we look at the investment, we are only looking at the financial investment, but please try to consider the time and effort and energy is also a big part of the investment.
Yep. Sure.
Okay. So here's a question about somebody who's been out of who's graduated a while ago. So can those who apply who have graduated more than 10 years ago and have MBA masters and more than a decade of experience? Also, what if such a person wants to switch fields, going from marketing to psychology or data sciences? That's a great question.
Can I take that question? Just
Yeah.
because
Please go ahead. Yeah.
I did my undergrad 2010 IBA, and then I did my MBA 2020 from Babson MBA. So I had about 9 years of experience when I joined Babson. And MBA is a great path if you are looking into changing your careers, changing your industry, or changing your field. Then that's something that gives you a leverage in terms of making that switch. And that can be a great story in your application when you are applying to these schools. And it's not uncommon. I would say it's on the lesser side. I probably would be on the top 10 most aged person in the class, but that's still okay, because then you get to share a lot of your experience from the industry, and the schools really appreciate that.
And also, Sean, just to add, that changing major is not a big challenge in US. I can give the story of my nephew. He graduated from not from IBA, but another institute, big other institute, I don't recall, from Zebist. He did his BBA, and he came and doing his MBA, and then we had a discussion. I said that this is non-STEM program, and you'll definitely face some challenges for immigration. Then he asked his advisor. He took GRE because his MBA didn't require the GRE, and he took some extra courses in datacom, computer networking, doing maybe around three extra courses, 9 credits. He moved his major from MBA to computer networking, and he's working for Cisco now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a great story. I want to add a couple of. Please go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Shan. Go ahead.
So there are a couple of things, right? So my story is very similar to Abdul Karim's. I did my MBA in finance from IBA in 2001, and then I went back and did an MS in finance in 2010, right? And because of my, there was about 8-9 years of experience, but I really had really great work experience, and that helped me with my projects and just generally communicating with people, right? You're able to coach other people as well. So that really helps. And then even in my class, there were people maybe 10, 15, 20 years older than me. So that brings me to the second half, that in the US, right, you could be 60 years old and go to school and it's not a problem, right? You may have done your undergrad 30 years ago, but you do some makeup courses and you're still able to go back. And then also brings us to the question about switching majors. So in the US, right, people can do their undergrad in anything, right? You could be an arts major, but then decide that you want to become a doctor and then you go to med school, right? Or you could be another commerce major, right? And then you decide to become a lawyer, so you go to law school after that. The process is slightly longer, but there's no issues in changing your majors as long as you're able to do the makeup courses, or if to just to bring you up to speed of the class level. So don't think that if you've done commerce or something, you cannot go get into STEM. If you've even done business administration, you can take certain makeup courses, foundation courses, I believe they call them, and then you can go into data sciences, computer sciences, machine learning, anything that you want to. It just needs a little extra effort.
And I'll also add to this point. So as we are talking about, like, try to choose a STEM degree. Earlier when I did, MBA was not a STEM degree. But now you can actually talk to schools, and schools are opening up the possibility that with MBA, if you take a couple of data analytics and data science course, you can convert your MBA degree into a STEM degree. So make sure, if any of you are applying for MBAs, then make sure to talk to the school administration and say, like, hey, can this MBA degree and STEM degree? If not, can I convert this MBA into a STEM degree by taking any additional courses?
Exactly. I think Abdul,
that's a great point. Just I'll add one point, Abdul. So when I was searching for the masters, I saw so many universities have already STEM designated MBAs. So you can go to the Wharton Board of School, you can go to any other university. Most of the universities have their MBA already STEM designated.
Totally.
Fantastic. Just kind of scrolling down to some more questions. So somebody's asking me if they have an MBBS, right? So they're a doctor in Pakistan and want to do a master's in clinical investigation. That's a great area, actually. In the US, clinical research is huge. So getting into that, the question is, uh, it falls under non-STEM category. Uh, how will that work?
So I think there are two answers to that. First of all the universities, hospitals, they are not part of a normal H-1B draw. They are waived of this program.
Mhm.
So if you go to those kind of programs, even if it is not a STEM program, they are eligible to apply your H-1B through non-traditional path. This is what I had experienced. So it depends on your employer. Let's suppose you go to university, even if you do MBA non-STEM, but if you go to and join a university, they do not need to go to normal H-1B STEM program. They can file your H-1B like universities, hospitals, education institutes. So your limitation will be depending on the employer if you don't go for this STEM. If you and that's a good point. Even if someone has done MBA, and if he end up getting a job to a university, they don't need to worry about 85,000, slots for normal STEM categories.
Okay, so just going through, I think there are a lot of questions here, but a lot of them have already been answered under the umbrella of other questions. So I'm going through stuff here. I saw a mention of LinkedIn, by the way. So just an open question, right? The value of having a LinkedIn profile as somebody who's graduated from, or a student in Pakistan or somebody here. Can somebody speak to that? And I'll continue to look for more questions, please.
So sorry, go ahead.
I think LinkedIn is a great source for the finding networking and finding a job. But since our focus is on getting into the university, I think there should be a greater focus on other things beside LinkedIn. I see the tone of the questions. There are a lot of questions about, to me, it gives the impression, can we avoid these standardized tests? And my impression is, or my suggestion is, we should take as many standardized tests as possible and run with the best one. So take GRE, take GMAT, use the one which gives you the best chance. So I think where people are in terms of their academic journey into US, I think at this time they should focus on taking all sorts of standardized tests so that they can find where they have the best odds.
Can I share to Kamran's point? Kamran, great point. So I'll tell you again, it's just take a step back, think about like, how can I make my profile stand out? How can I get my profile stand out in the admissions committee when they have 10 candidates to choose? I took 3 GMATs, and every time I was taking, my score actually kept decreasing, and only then I found out that I've diagnosed with ADHD and then things like that. And that became my story in the application essay. And because I had 10 years of experience, I could add other parts, other pieces to puzzle to my application, and they actually considered me. So if you have more experience, you feel like you have more pieces to the puzzle added that shines your application, then you can go with that route. But again, make sure that you're going to be competing with thousands of other candidates. So make sure however you are able to shine your application, you should go for it.
And I also want to add one more thing to that. When I was going to school in Pakistan, right, a lot of times what happened was, if you miss that year, then you're kind of almost, your career may get messed up, right? So if I took my A levels or intermediate in a certain year, I had to get into college that year. And then if I did that, then I had to follow a certain path. If I did not meet those admission deadlines and things, then, I would get stuck in a without a career or something to that effect. But in the US, right, you have more leeway. So, for instance, you apply, you don't get admission to the school you want, or whatever it is, right? It could be anything. Doesn't mean that you have to give up on that. You can come back to it in a few months, in another semester, in the next year, in a couple of years. So just keep that in your mind, that try as hard as you can the first time around, but know that you will still be able to get in, even if it's the following semester or the next year. So uh, that's just something to keep in mind. uh, I have another question here about a career in product management. And so product man, and I am being in the industry, in the med device industry. I work extensively with product managers. I've been a product manager, and it falls broadly under marketing, but this is very different from the typical marketing that IBA used to teach back when I was in school. Uh, a lot of marketing was focused on downstream, what we call downstream, so advertising, and more focused towards media and developing brochures and all that, right? Positioning and everything. Over here, product management does include that, but there's also a big component of upstream marketing, in which marketers are actually working with engineers, regulatory people, computer, scientists and such, all different disciplines, to actually create a product. So it's almost like being the CEO of a product line, right? You're thinking about everything, and then how to launch a product and all that. I'm not certain if it falls under STEM in the general area of things, but possibly product management in the software field may fall under STEM, or if you have that degree, that may fall under STEM. But product management personally has been a very rewarding career for me. It gives me a 360 degree view of the business and the product line and the market. So it's a very promising career to be in. And you could take many routes to it. So moving on to more questions. There's a question about someone who's completed high school and going to get admission in college. Should I start looking for funded scholarships or apply for scholarships after graduation? This is somebody who has just finished high school, so they're asking a question about undergrad. Is that something that we can help them with?
I think undergrad is a very long 4 years degree and it's very expensive. So unless you are coming from a very, very rich background, I suggest to do bachelor's from Pakistan, either from IBA or Alums, and then come here for masters.
Okay. Yes.
Be mentally prepared that most of the undergrad programs do not offer scholarships or assistance. You find those things only at a master's level.
That's correct.
Okay, so see. Okay, so here's another question, right? Should I prioritize internships or look for research training assistant position in my final year of undergrad? Internships or research, what makes my profile stronger as a grad school applicant for business analytics? So they're asking, should they become a research teaching assistant, or should they do an internship to build a stronger application, for application to a master's program here?
I would go in favor of research assistant if it is a very renowned project, if you are working on something which everyone knows. If it is just a normal research assistant, probably it will not carry that much weight compared to actual work experience.
Okay. What's the best way to shortlist universities?
I think the best way, first one is to shortlist based on the ranking. But again, ranking has so many factors. Most of that part depends on how many PhDs and research degrees are offered, what research has been done. So I suggest to look at their career outcomes, what is the average alumni salaries, how many people are employed in what period of time, those factors, yeah.
Right.
And I would just add to this is make sure, because that's one thing that I learned. make sure to ask those universities the international employment. Not because universities, they are also smart about it. What they're going to do is they're going to only talk about like, hey, 90% of our graduate got jobs in within 3 months. But you want to make sure that you ask them, hey, how many of the international students got those jobs? Because some of the universities might share those stats, some of them won't. But at least it's a good metric to know, because you coming from international, you already would have a limited companies to apply. So it makes your job a bit more difficult as compared to an average American, but still good careers.
I think Abdul Karim has a very valid point. Most of the evaluation parameters are not meant for non-immigrants, international students. But I would say that before I start evaluating university, I need to have some introspection of what exactly I'm looking for. I should be more clearer about it and then start evaluating universities.
Thank you for that, everyone. So there are a few questions that I see talking about what are the steps. So we will share this deck and we will share the recorded presentation. So if you want to see the the step-by-step process, Prakash has really laid it out well in the slide deck. So you will have access to that. We'll either send you a link or post it online at a later date. So you'll have that, and I think that'll be able to guide you well through the entire process.
Shan, there is a question about certain GPA from top universities versus a low-ranked university in Pakistan. So I think that's also a good question. In terms of, I can talk and then others can chime in as well. So I think, again,
what's the question, Abdul Karim?
The question that I think what I understood is low GPA from top universities in Pakistan versus a high GPA from mid-tier universities in Pakistan.
Okay.
I think you should think about, again, yes, because here schools would know about IBA Alums, but then they would also consider what shines your application is if you have great experiences to counter for, if you have gone to mid-tier universities, great GPA. So it's just a complete package. Don't think about like GPA is just one part of the big package that you yourself are selling to the school. So GPA, your extracurricular activities, even if you have gone on done any a non-profit experiences, do share those as well in your application, because they consider here as well. So make sure it's a complete package, and GPA is just one part of it. Similarly, school is also one part of it. You can have a stellar experience at a organization and might have gone to a mid-tier university. Doesn't mean that your chances are reduced. No, absolutely not.
Right.
100% right.
Please go ahead, Kamran. Were you saying something?
Bottom line, complete package.
Yes.
Yeah, a very holistic approach.
Absolutely. I think the universities also look at what other things you've done. So, for instance, right, if you've taught somewhere, right, you're going and teaching somebody something, you put it on there. If you've done some charity work, put it on there. If you're taking things like that, if you helped, I remember there was a time that somebody was building schools and there were other people who were helping them, going outside the city. Add all those things, give them a complete picture of who you are, not just the academics, right? If you're good in sports, then that's something that you want to touch on. So that's I believe the key to it. Now moving on to another question. So there's an interesting question, right? So what if you have dependents, right? If you are married and you have a child, how do you what about the visa for that? If somebody can speak to that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Kamran sir, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the main applicant would be on F1, so all the dependent will be on F2. But here is the question: the support. We need to make sure the dependents who you want to bring you have sufficient financial cushion and support to you can answer the visa officer. Otherwise, there is no issue. How many dependents you have, they are going to issue you F2, what we call F2, what we call a document.
Dependent, yeah.
Not dependent, the document, the where we have
I-20.
I-20. So they are going to
I-20 for
give
the
you F2 I-20s for all your dependents.
And
So
then
that's
you have
not
to,
an issue.
and you have to, I guess, show that you're able to support them, right?
Absolutely.
Financially.
That
I
is
think
good.
that's the key, that they cannot be dependent on anything else except for you.
Here
And
is
none
my
of the,
suggestion.
yeah,
And
and none
also,
of the dependent on F2 would be able to work, but they can go school and take education.
correct.
My suggestion would be first let the principal come on F1. He applies, gets the visa, come here, spend at least one semester so that he kind of settle down, and the family can file for F2 later.
Yeah, great suggestion. Yeah. So this is a question. I think this goes to personal preference. What I think the question is, if somebody is offered a fully funded scholarship in EU, should they still go ahead and choose the US? USA is more prestigious and higher earning potential, but it's also relatively more expensive.
Great point. Yeah, I think
So guys, this
everybody has
comes
their
back to you're propping up the US. You're talking about the US and then all the others. So this.
I think Abdul wants to answer it. Go ahead.
I think Shan, great. You said it. Like it's a personal preference and the
Right.
risk tolerance you have. Like at one place you don't have to pay anything. Yeah, I'm sure there will be some small fraction that you would be paying. But then after you graduate, the opportunities might not be as many as you would get the opportunities once you graduate in the US. And I think what Prakash also mentioned in the university, and again, that's my personal preference and experience that I've learned here, is you get loans here. So, and then once you get a job, most likely, inshallah, you're easily able to find a job here and you will get a job and you can pay off the loans. It's the mental barrier that we need to, cross that, which is, hey, we can get loans and we can pay them off just because the potential to earn is a lot. And I speak to a lot of my friends who are in the EU after 10 years of working. They are still, there is a upper ceiling that you can reach in the EU and UK, whereas in US, it's sky is the limit for you. So it's again, boils down to the personal preference.
I think also the ad is one thing that's advantageous is think of the US as 50 small European countries, right? So there's 50 small countries with a very similar system across the board, the same language, very transferable experience from one place to the other versus 10, 15 smaller countries, each has a different language, or most of them have different languages, and the economy are also not as synergized as the one big US economy is. So that, and then on top of that, capitalism versus other kinds of government. So there's a push here towards a lot of much growth. I mean, I'm sure that it's also in Europe. For me, I believe it's a little easier in the US to push through and grow. Okay, just going through more questions. How important are personal statements and essays, or does standardized or are standardized tests most important?
I think as we already shared, universities take very holistic approach, as Abdul conveyed before. They look at all the factors, your GPA, your GRE, your essays, recommendation letters. So all together, they rank your application and give admission based on that.
And I would like to add here is, if you personally feel that you lack in one aspect, make sure that you bump up the other aspect of your life so that at the end you have a very holistic, strong application. For example, I had a low GPA, so I bumped up my experiences, my extracurriculars, and that got me an invite from the school. So just be smart about it. Like, hey, look at a holistic approach. If I have less scores, if I would give less scores on one aspect, is there a way that I could bump up the other aspects of life?
Okay, here's another few. I think we're almost towards the end of the questions, right? So, is it true that we need to get a job within 3 months of graduation? If not, we'll have to move back to Pakistan.
Yeah, that's correct. Once you graduate, you apply for OPT, and that allows 90 days of your unemployment period, and that is accumulative during the time of OPT, which is 3 years. So if you couldn't get job in 90 days, then definitely, either you need to go back to school or you need to go back. So that is very critical.
And I would just add to it here. Don't let that deter you from applying to the university, because here, once you reach here, you would realize that there are so many resources and support system available to you that you would eventually sail through it. There would be a lot of information out there which might say like, oh my god, I'm taking a huge loan, how I'm gonna pay back, oh my god, there is 3 months. I was on J visa, which is in 30 days you have to find a job, but then things work out. So don't let that deter you in terms of applying and going to pursuing that American dream.
Yeah, I think Abdul, you can be a great motivational speaker. Love the spirit.
That's it, yeah. Okay, so here's a question. Do rankings matter when it comes to US universities? I mean, the affordable universities mostly have QS ranking of 400 plus.
I
Abdul,
think,
you want to take that?
I mean, everyone has their own perspective, but I graduated from a normal university, Wichita State University. So now let me give you my practical story and experience. It is very important to really, really have strong skills whatever you do in whatever field. The reason why I chose Wichita State University, there are reasons. A lot of time we target big universities, big names, that's good, but having a lot of competition, give tough time to get on-campus job, options for GRA and TA positions. And also, if you have connection and if you have really honed your skills, things will work out. I graduated from a normal university. I got funding. The reason why I chose that, because in that university we have on campus Cisco System Research Center, Boeing Research Center, NetApp, Juniper. So many big IT companies were there. And that was the only reason I went there, and they knew that these graduates are very well and their courses are customized to meet the needs of these big IT companies, and things work out. So it is also important to look into the details of the universities, what kind of on the campus research center they have from the corporate sector, so that they are going to give you really great experience to be placed after your graduation.
I think that's very insightful. Thank you, Chandan. I think one more thing, a couple of things in my experience have been that what's the specialization, right? If you're going to for IT, maybe that school has a great IT school or computer science program, and it may not be ranked high, but maybe that computer science program is fantastic, so you apply for that, and people know that, the employers know that that school is really strong on that. There are other schools which may be really great on fashion design. There may be other schools which are excellent as far as public policy is concerned, finance is concerned. So that's one thing to take into consideration, that the university may not be the top 5 or top 10, top 100, but their program may be solid, right? So you want to look at that. The other thing you want to look at is on-campus recruiting. So a lot of organizations which are around that university, right? So it's may come for on-campus recruiting, or they just may have general tendency of having alums from that school, right? So there's a tendency that they will come back and hire more from that school. So if there's a university, say in UT Austin, right, or then the companies around there, the first preference will a lot of times be to come to the campus and just hire from there. So they might do that. Again, like Chandan said, Wichita, right? There could be industries around there, like you said, Juniper and Cisco and a lot of different companies, which, that they could hire from anywhere in the country, but their first stop will probably be the university, which is right there. Uh, based in Chicago, they have they have DePaul and they have University of Chicago, right, which have great data analytics and machine learning programs. So it's very natural for a company to kind of go and hire here first and then look for other graduates. So there are a bunch of different things, that go into rankings and what's good and what's not. It's not that there are only 5 top schools and everything else is, secondary. No, it's not like that.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're almost at the end of the questions, guys. Are you seeing any questions that you want to specifically address? Please scroll through. I think I've covered most of the major topics.
I think we are good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I think let's close
I
this.
see. I
Yeah.
see one more question. Another question by Mohammad Arham. A US university just launched its master's in data science program this year. So it's a new program. So should I apply to that program? It's a it's a great question, first of all. And again, it's just another data point that you are considering, which is sure, here the university's data science program might be newer, but is the school going to help you get a job? Because at the end of the day, the school also wants to make sure that all their graduates get a job so that they get constantly feedback loop, they constantly get more students. So once you land here and then once you start going to that school, you would have to reach out to the career center, to the support system that the school offers. And from a school perspective, it's their first year of launching that. They would want to make sure that majority of their students get the job as well. So it's just that you might have to do more work, but no harm in applying to that if you get a scholarship and if you get an admission.
Okay, I'll just add one point. So I'm doing masters in data science, and this data science program, this is my second batch. So it was launched only 2 years ago, but first batch, if you look at the job statistics, they were placed because university has good reputation. University is 150 years old university. So I think that also adds. And one question that I want to address, I think Malia, Dan, they are comparing state universities versus private universities. So I think mostly private universities are a bit expensive. State universities are a bit cheaper. And if you look at job perspective, I'll just compare two universities. Let's say compare my university with, let's say, Harvard. Not all Harvard current students of data science program have got internship, right? And some students from my university from data science program have got internship. So I think everything depends. Master's program is just 1.5 years, very fast pace. You will just come here and time will fly. So it all depends on your effort, how much you put your efforts in connecting with the recruiter, sending cold emails, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, optimizing your resume. So I think it all depends on you.
Right. There's also a question about how can a particular how that a particular school is good in a particular. How can we find out if a particular school is good in a particular subject? Like a person working in cybersecurity, right? So how can she find out that if this school has a good cybersecurity program? I'm not sure if they go into that detail, but please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the best way is LinkedIn is the best way. You can just search Masters in Cybersecurity program, go to the People's tab, put the university filter, and you have current master's students from cybersecurity, and you can just connect with them, ask them their own experience. That is the best way.
Yeah. So I think you touched on a very good point, that leveraging LinkedIn for networking with others. So people in the US are generally very helpful. I think it's great. Step one would be to start following people, whose content you are interested in. So it could be students, it could be fresh grads, it could be professionals. Start following them, then try to, connect with them, and then ask them a question. It's very simple, right? That, hey, I'm looking for some guidance and counseling. Can you please help me? And not always, but maybe, a couple of people out of maybe 10, 20, 30 people will get back to you and they'll give you information. So I think that's a great way of building a network. Also, you may be able to reach out to professors or, or admissions offices here. Because, the task of the admission office is to bring in students, right? So they can almost be your partner and help you with the information and answering questions. Again, it's not like a black hole, right? When you send questions in, people will answer you or people will get back to you. So keep communications open and don't be shy.
Yeah.
So I think we're almost on schedule. We're just a few minutes ahead, which is great. There's this one question. Are you seeing this last couple of questions?
Yeah, let me take
Prakash?
that. So
You'll
I think
take
these
that.
two questions from Ajay Kumar are very long, so it will take me a couple of some time to read. But there's a question about any official portal like EU has. I don't think US has any official portal for that. And there's a question about data science and data analytics. From what I have searched, data science role is more, scientist role oriented. You'll be studying more machine learning algorithm and stuff. And if you are going to the data analytics role, it is based on engineering role, like data engineering role.
And that has a substantial demand as well, and it's supposed
Yeah,
to, right?
yeah,
Developing algorithms and as such
yeah,
enhance
definitely.
application. Okay, so I think we can, give everyone back 15 minutes so that they can enjoy their evening. We will make this the recording available, and we will also make the deck available. Please keep an eye out on your emails. So whoever attended, we'll be able to reach out to them, connect with them, and share this information. And keep an eye out for future follow-up webinars on this topic. We plan on conducting more. We don't have a time. We will have a timeline on it soon, and we will share these out again. Okay. So thank you, everyone. It's been great to have this, and I hope we've been helpful to all of you guys. Okay. And please feel free to connect on LinkedIn. Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, and good
Bye.
luck.
Thank you, everybody.